Hello, and welcome to the Footy Podcast. To benefit Here's Help. Here's Help is a nonprofit comprehensive rehabilitation and educational agency that's been providing treatment services in South Florida since 1968. For more information on Here's Help or Footy's podcast, you can contact us at 305-685-8201. If you need help or know someone who has a substance abuse or alcohol problem, you can call our admissions office at 305-685-8201, extension 224. If you'd like to make a cash donation to Here's Help and join the fight against drug abuse, call Footy at 305-685-8201, extension 227. Now, here's Footy.
Well, welcome aboard. This is the Footy Podcast. Ron Hersey's joining us, and we appreciate you joining in and participating with us and following us as we go along. And we'll try to pass along as much information as possible, and we'll do a little storytelling as well.
Well, let's start off by telling the folks a little bit about Here's Help.
Yeah.
This is a great facility here in North, what's Mighty Gardens, I think, technically, right? You're right on the border with Opelika.
We used to be in Opelika, but when they restructured everything.
So 151st and 27th Avenue. And,
but we're on the north side of 151st.
Okay.
That's the distinction.
That's the dividing line.
Yeah.
We're right past Opelika Airport. But you've been here, what is it, 1968, 69?
69, I believe.
69 would have been when you first opened, and it's recovery for young men now. And recovery through education, I hear an awful lot, and the replacement life, I hear a lot. This campus, I've said many times, when I first met you, when I first went to work at Y100, we came down here for something. And you were just operating out of a house. You had just the one building up.
Well, it wasn't a house. It was one building.
Right. To me, it seemed
But
like.
when we were back on 7th Avenue, we had a little farmhouse.
Wow. So, and now this campus has grown. You've got dorms. You've got this incredible kitchen, this full professional kitchen, thanks to Pepe Padilla. The building that we're in is the media center with a computer lab. There's an art school. Gloria and Emilio Estefan have graciously outfitted this. The music room is the envy of any musician I've ever met. The drum sets and guitars and keyboards, and I mean, you got everything. In fact, at one point, I guess you could actually record from this room, from that room into here. You've got a big 32-channel mixer. So the whole, and now you're putting in this plumbing school. How's that going?
Well, you have to deal with the city, it's
Permits, inspectors.
Permits and inspections. We're going through that process now. But it's an arduous and slow and difficult thing to do, but we've done it a number of times before, so we're doing it one more time.
And when you first mentioned to me that you were putting in a plumbing school to, I guess, in addition to the off-campus auto repair facility.
Well, that's a youth automotive training center.
Right.
We have a certain amount of scholarships each year. But that's a good question, because that's interesting. We have a guy that we have selected to go. Problem is, he's got to wait till summer's over. Because it's a school year.
Oh, okay.
So they go a full school year.
Oh, I got you.
And they graduate, and then they go to work in one of their automotive centers. So, it's a great thing. The guy we have that's waiting is from the Keys. So, but he's determined, and he's got to wait to get through all this time, and then get off and get up there.
Well, the rationale that you mentioned to me, which I wanted to impart to our viewers and listeners, is that it's the basic skills. Plumbing. We're always going to need plumbers.
Right.
No matter how advanced technology-wise we get, there's always going to be plumbing.
Right.
There's always going to be automobiles,
Right.
which are always going to need to be repaired. People always need to eat. We'll always need to have restaurants. So what you're doing is you're educating folks and getting them a replacement life with a job that's got some future.
Yeah. Got some prospects right off the bat.
Right. And there's a million auto repair places and warehouse areas, I mean,
Well, these guys, interestingly enough, they're gonna go to, not like Joe's Fix-It Car, Fix-It on the corner.
Mhm.
They're gonna be going to the very fine youth automotive training center, and they're gonna get the finest training, and they are gonna then go into the upper echelons of the training.
Right, so you're not some grease monkey, you're actually working for.
Yeah, you're not gonna be pumping gas.
Right, right.
So.
And it's part of what you mentioned is the replacement life. These young men, almost all of them that I've interviewed, started their substance abuse at a very, very early age. And so they either quit going to school or they get thrown out of school.
Oh, yeah.
So the first step is to get them to get their
They're relaunched.
Right.
And we,
And that's where the Dade County Public School classroom and teachers that you have on campus come in.
yeah, but they're not part of the youth automotive training center.
Right, right. But I'm just saying, it's all part of that plan, that replacement life and recovery through education.
The principle is that we have to equip people with an alternate road to take. It's just like having a cop stand there, stop. Well, where do you go now? Okay, and they need the alternate road. They get the alternate road, and that's the replacement life that you're referring to, and it's something, it's unique, but it's very, very good, and it's very, very real, and it gives them a completely new, it's like you're in the fork in the road.
Mm-hmm.
Which way are you gonna go? Go down this road, right here. We're gonna take you to this road. You take that road. Let the other road go. And we've had tremendous, success through the years, and we really appreciate it. And we appreciate the Youth Automotive Training Center.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. The plumbing school's gonna be great when it's
Yeah.
done, so. It's a great facility. It's like I said, it's impressive to see how it's grown since I first met you, and it's great to be in this particular building every week and do this podcast and reminisce about the good old days at Y100. We had a lot of fun, and the last time we got together, talking about the good old days and about some of the characters and some of the personalities that went in and out of the doors of Y100 over the years. And you were there for all of it. We had a good time reminiscing about Tanner and when he passed away, and what a
Recently.
Yeah, and what an indelible mark he left on South Florida. I mean, we talked in that podcast about how he just, for a guy from Mississippi to come into South Florida, two totally different mentalities, and to just tap into what was going on here. And
Well, but he wasn't coming into South Florida. He was in the music world,
right,
and
entertainment,
it went anywhere.
right.
And we all kind of got that.
Right, but every market's different, every town is different, and I think Miami's one of the more unique radio markets of anywhere in the country. I'm sure there are others.
Yeah, but he was able to isolate that
Mm-hmm.
and get that going, and it's still going. So.
Yeah. I mean, that station's still on the air, still a landmark station, and I'm proud.
But have you been watching him? Like Froggy doesn't actually go there anymore.
Oh, is he from home? Or
Yeah, they're all
Well,
different.
that's the wave of the future.
Yeah, and even Elvis, he's got a house somewhere in Texas or something.
I'm sure it's a mansion.
Yeah. So the
How did I miss out on all the money? When I came up in like Fort Pierce along the Treasure Coast and the Vero Beach and stuff, it was a lot more, the industry, especially the mom and pop building radio stations, were a lot more relaxed. I mean, I can remember getting off the air at my station and getting in the car and going to another station in Vero Beach and hanging out all night. Well, you know, as well as I do, you can't get anywhere near a radio station after hours.
why would you want to do that?
Just because I was just obsessed with radio. I wanted to know everybody in the market that was on the air. I wanted to see every recording studio. Like you say, I wasn't just a DJ. I was just anything to do with broadcasting. I tell people, I've said many years, I'm more at home behind the microphone than I am at home. You know, anything to do with broadcasting. And so, and when you work at a small station like that, and there's only 2 or 3 air staff, because you're an AM daytimer and you have to sign off at sundown, you know, there's an opportunity to do the news. There's an opportunity to write commercial copy. There's an opportunity to learn how to produce commercials. And so, in this one station I worked at Vero Beach, I did everything. I literally, there were days when I signed the station on at 6 a.m. and I signed it off that night at 8 o'clock because the afternoon guy was sick. And so, thankfully, being able to, like you say, being able to do the news or do traffic reports or write a commercial helped save my job on more than one occasion because, you know, they're starting to look for people to get rid of and they're like, okay, well this guy does 3 or 4 things, so maybe we'll keep him a little longer. So I've been very thankful that when I did come up in the small markets that I learned to do everything. And to me it's all the same. To me being a disc jockey is just the same as doing a newscast. To me it's all broadcasting, you know, it's all being on the air. So, and I've been real thankful that I managed to keep my job low these many
I didn't
years.
have that problem.
Yeah, well, you like you said, you were unique on a number of different levels. None the least of which was you were dependable, and that is oddly enough in our industry something that can sometimes be very rare. But you know, you were there every day. You were there on time every day.
Yeah.
You know, and the owners and the powers that be knew that you weren't going to say or do anything that was going to challenge the license or jeopardize it.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that's important. That's, you know, especially, and you remember, in fact, we should talk about that when Janet Jackson had her wardrobe malfunction at the Super Bowl, and remember Justin Timberlake exposed her breast, and the FCC took a lot of heat for that, and for some reason, I can't quite figure this out, instead of going after television, they went after radio. They went after Howard Stern. And I don't know if you remember, but I can remember when that happened, getting called in and, you know, here's a list of things you're not allowed to talk. You can't say these words
Really?
now.
They didn't do that with me.
Oh my God, you know.
I knew already.
Right, you can't say duty anymore. You can't make references to body functions and, you know, all the comedy standards. So it was hard to do.
They didn't trust you, that's what it
Well, either that or my partner. One or the other.
Because I didn't go through any of that, they did.
Oh, I remember one time.
I knew.
Yeah. We used to do when we were at Magic 102.7. We used to do a comedy feature. We'd run 60 seconds of some stand-up comic as part of the morning show. One of the breaks was a stand-up comic, and one morning, like 5 o'clock, Sonny calls me and goes, hey, this is our comedy, listen to this. And I can't think of her, I think it's Marsha Warfield, I think was who the comedian was. She was the bailiff on one of those TV sitcoms with, I think, Harry Anderson or something. And she was telling joke, the joke was about sanitary napkins.
Oh, God.
And I said,
Sonny, what are you guys, idiots? I mean,
I
you
said,
didn't
Sonny,
know better than that?
I just don't think this is a good idea. And this was right at the height of all this hysteria and this witch hunt. And I said, I just don't think this is good. Oh, it's just as relatable, you know, every woman can relate. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't think they want to hear about it with their kids in the car going to school this morning. And Magic prided itself on being before Disney got into radio, the Disney station, the family station.
Oh, God.
And they'd even gotten a hold of the Disney employee handbook somehow, and we all had to read the Disney handbook, and that was our mindset, you know, the mom in the car with her 16-year-old daughter, and you don't want to say or do anything that's going to embarrass them. And he absolutely refused to listen. He insisted on running it more than once on the show.
Sonny, yeah.
Yeah, and so we get off the air, and Rick Peters, the operations director, sticks his head in the control room and says,
you're fired.
I want to see you guys. Okay. So we go into the conference room, and it's a typical, you know, long table, and we're sitting all the way down at this end, and the owner of the radio station and Rick is sitting at the other end, And he's got this stack of papers, and he says, "This is your contracts. So I want to read something to you." So he turns to the termination
You
clause.
didn't even have a contract.
Oh yeah, we did. That was the days when we still had those things. It's been a while, but yeah, I had quite a few contracts in my day, which is a whole nother story. But he begins to read to us the termination clause about, airing material that would be considered offensive. And then he tears that page out of the contract, wads it up in a ball, and throws it at us. And says, "If this ever happens again, you're gone." So that was quite the atmosphere.
So you were gone eventually?
It really had nothing to do with that. Trying to remember. Sonny left before I did, and they brought some other guy in, and that lasted for about a year, and then we got bounced. The contracts came up for renewal, and that was the end of that. But wasn't the first time.
I never got fired.
Yeah, well, you stayed at Y100. Your whole career was at one radio station. I can't think of any other announcer or any other broadcaster in radio. Of course, Tony Segreto was the guy that stayed at Channel 4, even though I think they changed call letters at one point. But he was on 4 his whole career. Even though he transitioned from sports to news, he was still at the same facility. But that was TV. But I can't think of a single broadcaster that didn't start at least somewhere. The fact that you started in a major market, most people don't begin their careers in the top 10 market. They begin their careers like I did in Fort Pierce, signing off at sundown.
I don't know if I would look at it as a career. I mean, Bill Tanner, I was walking down the hall one day and he said, "Hey, come here." Mm-hmm. And he put me in charge of the sports and all that other stuff that we did. And then one thing led to another. So I never really had a hard time in any broadcasting.
Yeah, I know, I'm pretty jealous about that.
Yeah. No, I always got along. I always made money. I always did the shows. I emceed everything that ever came along.
And I love doing that. That's you have to understand. Some people, the thing they like the most about radio is the fact that they're not in front of them. No one's watching them. They're in a control room, and so they can be some alter ego without feeling it.
I was always under surveillance. I felt that way.
Well, I mean, they're listening to what you're doing, but I'm saying you're in a soundproof room, and 9 times out of 10, if you're a regular DJ, not like a morning show host, you're by yourself.
I always worked with 3 or 4 different people at the time.
Right.
So, because I wasn't really a DJ.
Right, you were a morning host, so that was a big difference. Yeah.
And it was worked out pretty good.
Yeah, well, you had an amazing career, and it's funny that people comment on the podcast, and some of the comments are great, and they'll say, "Oh, I remember this," or "I remember that." It's things I've forgotten about, haven't thought of for years, and they'll bring up Neem Shield, the hitman. Who's still, I guess he's still over there, right?
He texted me like yesterday.
Yeah, we talked about
it. You know what he wanted?
What?
He wanted to know if I could send some guys over to his house to help him finish putting in his new windows and doors. And I'm like...
Really, Al?
Al.
Well, it was a thought.
Yeah. Oh, it was his thought.
Of all the characters, because we've covered Jim really to death, and Tanner, and we talked about Al, Doug Dunbar, who wound up being a huge news anchor in Texas. I'm sure he's had his hands full lately.
Why?
Well, because the big freeze and everybody without power, and the whole state fell apart, and I'm sure he was, as a news anchor, I'm sure he was extremely busy. But who were some of the characters, other than the ones that we talked about, that you remember in the building, some of the DJs that particularly stand? There was a lot of people that went through there over the years. Paco, remember Paco Lopez?
Yeah, but I didn't really have, I was a morning man. I didn't...
Right, so by 10 you were here.
Yeah. So I didn't travel on those rails.
Right.
I did that, but no, I did things also. I would go to cover football games. I would go to cover the Dolphins. Or go to camp. I would go to high school football games. I spent enough time at St. Thomas But that was my job.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, it's funny that you bring it up. I never really thought it was, but I was like an entity in and of myself. I wasn't part of the main stable.
Right.
I was always like, I guess because I had multifaceted jobs.
We had a lot of responsibility too.
Yeah, I had to care of that.
It's funny you say that. One of the things I always enjoyed about doing the morning show was, like I mentioned earlier, at sometimes 9, 10 o'clock, you were done. And,
See, I wasn't.
well, as far as being in that building, you were
Yeah.
done with that. And there were a lot of folks, and if it works for you, that's great, but a lot of times the people in the office at the radio stations, it was their whole life. You know, the only friends they had were their coworkers, and they would all get off work and go to a bar and have a few drinks together and hang out
Really?
together. Yeah.
They didn't invite me.
Well, there you go. But that wasn't, you know, I was like you, even though it was my career and even though it was something that I loved doing and it wasn't my whole life. My show was my life, but I wasn't interested in hanging out with the office staff. Not that there was anything wrong with that, just wasn't my thing. You know?
We were gone before they even got there.
That was what I liked. I liked that. I liked being in that radio station and there was no one there but us. It was just us, you know. And maybe in my mind it was kind of an us against them kind of mentality, or I don't know. But I really enjoyed being able to leave and not having to interact with those folks.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, they were all wonderful people, but it just, you know.
No, I'm friends with a lot of them still today. We get together.
Yeah. The office
You know,
folks?
Matt Mills.
Well, he was the GM. Yeah, you had to be good friends
Yeah.
with him. Aside from the fact he was just a super nice guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I never even worked with Matt Mills, but I forgot how we got introduced. Somehow we got introduced in an event, and he stayed in touch with me forever, just to check in and say, hi, how you doing? We never worked together. I thought
What was his name, the tall guy, the salesman, great guy, funny guy?
John Jarris?
Yeah. Yeah, John, we get together, I see them like once a year. And now.
And I never get invited to those.
My memory is fading so fast.
Yeah, welcome to the club.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah. But how come I never get, I see those every year. There's like you and John Jarris and Karis and Julie Wilson.
We don't want you to come. What's the big shock?
Well, at least you're honest.
Well, you.
Was I that? I mean, I'll admit.
Had nothing to do with you.
Maybe it was just, you know, it's funny, a lot of times I'll run into somebody who'll say, hey, oh yeah, Ron Hersey, 100, I met you one time at so-and-so, and for the longest time I used to say, well, was I a jerk? Maybe I just had this misconception that I was being more of a jerk than I was.
Well, on that note, let's take a break.
We'll be right back.
Have you been introduced to Footy Sauce? Footy Sauce makes it easy to give ordinary chicken wings extraordinary flavor. Footy Wing Sauce is made with a perfect blend of herbs and spices. So what are you waiting for? Pour it on. Footy's Wing Sauce guarantees you a better tasting chicken wing every single time. When you fire up the grill, pour it on. Let Footy be your wingman. Kick your next party up a notch with Footy Sauce. Grab Footy's Wing Sauce and pour it on.
I'm Footy, and welcome to the Footy Podcast. Here, coming to you every week from the studios at Here's Help.
Hey, by the way, we want to thank everybody. We're getting a lot of views on our podcast, and folks are subscribing, and they're clicking on the bell down on the frame of what you're looking at right now, so we can notify you when we have new podcasts. So we really appreciate the views, and we love your comments. One day while you were away, I was reminiscing about the old days at She and Y100, and trying.
Wait, what do you mean She and Y100?
Well, the stations that I worked at when I first came, you weren't here, so why would I talk about you?
No, but I mean, the point of Y100 was we were a machine.
Well, yeah.
And that was it. We didn't care who you were. We didn't care.
It was just bring in another body.
No, it wasn't like that. It was more in my era,
Yeah.
which was forever.
Yeah.
But the point of it is, we were Y100 and we would kind of kick your ass.
Oh yeah, and those are
We
great.
didn't care who you were.
Those
we
are
didn't
great
care where
days.
you came from.
Yeah.
And we, you know, we had a team that could kick your ass.
And we were all of the same mind. We all had that same mentality that you're talking about. But what I was going to say was it was nice because I was trying to remember personalities that I'd worked with, and the one I felt bad because I forgot about Harley Davidson. Remember, Harley worked at She, and then he did all nights.
Yeah, but he was a nightmare. You always forget those guys.
And so I think I mentioned, I said, Harley, if you're out there, check in and let us know what you're doing. And he was nice enough to comment, watch the video, and then comment, let us know what he's up to.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, so it's been a lot of fun for me because I've caught up with a lot of folks that I haven't thought about or talked to in a long time. So it's good to hear from Harley. And he's still doing it, man. He's still in radio.
Oh, is he?
Working at some stations. I think he's doing some.
Why would you name yourself after a motorcycle?
Well, I think that was Sonny. I think Sonny hired Harley, and his real name is Greg Gorinsky. So clearly you would want to go with something different. And you know, that was the thing. There were Bobby Oceans. There's a million Bobby Oceans, and there were all kinds of.
I only
great
had
names.
one, Footy.
Footy. Well, even that was a nickname.
Yeah.
Which I think you. That was one of the things when Sonny and I got hired to replace Tanner, who had gone to Wash FM. David Ross and the general manager Tony Novia, we signed contracts and everything, and they gave us some cassettes, and they said these are some of the Tanner in the morning shows. You might want to listen to these just to get an idea of.
Oh,
you know,
that
what
was
we're
us.
all about. Yeah, that was you guys, and so Sonny and I each took a stack and we went home and listened, and so we kind of got together and said, well, what did you think? What did you think would work, and what do you think was not good? And I remember I said to him, I said, you know, nothing for nothing. I go, but this name, Athlete's Foot, I go, it just seems to me the last thing you want to even be reminded of at 6 o'clock in the morning when you're eating an egg
It became
McMuffin
Footy very fast.
is foot fungus. Who wants to hear about foot fungus at 6 o'clock in the morning?
Well, you know why Tanner liked it? The fungus among us.
Oh, okay.
He would go, when we first started,
Yeah,
he would go, and now here he comes, the fungus among us.
right.
That lasted like a month.
Right. Well, that was kind of part of the whole, his act was, you know, the characters with funny oddball names.
Yeah.
And the Portly, Iowa newsman, Jim Reilly, and that sort of thing. And that was when Sonny said, well, why don't we shorten it to Footy? And I think you were always kind of grateful because I always felt like you weren't too keen on the name Athlete's Foot either.
Hey, let me explain something. There was a paycheck,
Well, yeah.
and I was getting that paycheck.
And it wasn't bouncing.
Right,
Yeah.
so it was all part of, I was making a living. To me, it was, I was walking down the hall as a guest,
Mm-hmm.
and I ended up on the morning show a week later.
Right. In a major market.
And I had 2 kids. I had a lot of things to take care of. And of course, Here's Help. I was at Here's Help before I was there.
Right.
And there's a lot of responsibilities. Like today, for example, I have to go around and rattle the cans.
Well, during the break, you were saying you had some projects going on that you wanted to spotlight.
Yes, well, we have our agriculture program, and we do garden to table. We grow our own fruits and vegetables, and we eat them. And we also have, of course, the things that you mentioned, our art studio, our music studio, this studio that we have for our broadcast and
Computer lab.
and all the things that we do. And we also have the Dade County School on our grounds, and they work with us and for us. So our guys in that age group, they just have to walk across the parking lot to go to school.
Yeah, well, usually when I pull in, they're heading over.
Yeah, so we sort of, self-contained in many ways. And we have a culinary school and a number of other projects, but we're embarking on something that is new for us, and that is we're building a plumbing school.
Right.
And we broke ground. But you're always with the permits, and it just takes forever. But they're doing it, and we will get it done. But
And that's going to be great.
some of these things take a lot of time.
Of course.
And especially when you're dealing with permits and things of that sort, it's like, really. I wonder how things get built, because
I know.
they just drag their feet on everything.
They're not in any hurry.
Yeah,
No
so,
doubt about that.
anyway, so we'll build that. And I always wanted to build a swimming pool,
Here,
yeah. But
seems like a big liability issue.
bingo.
Yeah.
The problem with it is, it costs you $1 trillion in
Insurance.
insurance and
Mhm.
Trump and, you know, things you have to pay off. And
Right, right.
It's just not practical. I guess for cities to do it, it's okay. And many of those are just very old.
Yeah, wow.
They're not particularly new, so, but we have basketball, we have our athletic field, we have our track field, we have enough physical stuff to do it. We have our own fitness studio, we have our own, you know, gym for lifting weights and doing different exercises.
And who was it? Was it, who donated the gym equipment?
Alonzo Mourning.
Alonzo Mourning.
Yeah, Alonzo had it all built specially for him, but he never used it for whatever reason, like it didn't fit or whatever.
Right.
And he said, Footy, you take it.
That must have been a chore, getting that equipment from wherever it was
Well,
to here.
Yeah, you know what, we got a lot of big boys walking around here.
Well, that's true.
Yeah,
But you couldn't help Chio out.
well, I don't know, I gotta call him when we're done today. We'll
And
call-
apologize.
We'll have a couple laughs. I'm apologizing for what? Because he can't do his own window? I gotta do his window for him? I mean,
Oh,
but Al's a good guy.
he really is.
We always had a lot of fun with him.
We did, yeah, we had a
He's
lot.
still up there, right?
Yeah, I think he's in sales. I think he's transitioned to sales.
By up there, I mean that the,
Y100?
yeah, what did they call it, Clear Channel? Or-
It's iHeart now.
Oh, iHeart, yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Welcome,
there when they changed.
welcome to 2021. Oh, man. Well, listen, we want to thank you again so much for watching our podcast and allowing us to be able to sit back and reminisce about our careers together and the fun that we had. And we thank you so much for subscribing. And again, click on the bell, and then we'll notify you when a new podcast is up. And if you have substance abuse issues, if you have someone, a family member or a friend or a loved one that you want to help, this is the place to start looking for help. You can go to here'shelpinc.com, check out the website. There's a list of phone numbers you can call for whatever questions that you have. And you can come down here. You're still taking tours of folks who are interested in seeing the facility. So social distancing, bring your mask and come down. And it's an amazing facility, it really is. And to have watched it grow from where it started out to this incredible campus, as you said, the Dan Marino Athletic Field, the Stefan Music Studio, and
There's two people we couldn't have done without.
right, and the Pepe Badia.
Pepe Badia, come on. He may be the world's greatest person.
Yeah.
I mean, Pepe is just a phenomenally kind, gentle, hardworking, very accomplished.
He's got a good heart.
He's just a great person.
Yeah. Well, and it's nice that when folks who have the means to make a difference see what's going on here.
He puts the money to the right uses. He's a terrific guy.
So,
And of course, Dan is.
there's Dan.
He'll give you a shirt off his back. I mean, in
Or the
fact, I
watch
talked
off
to Mike today.
Mike.
His son.
Oh, okay. How's he doing?
Mike and I, we're like buddies. We communicate all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's going through a little bit of a rough time right now, but then also Gloria,
Yeah.
well, she just went through the death of
Frank Amadeo.
Frank Amadeo, the president of Stefan Enterprises, and it was really a very, very sad thing. And we did the ceremony down. They have a drive-in theater off of Biscayne Boulevard, and we all went in there because they have a screen and they have the, like a drive-in theater.
Mm-hmm.
And Belkis Naray, myself and Gloria, we spoke
Oh,
about Frank and everything that went on, and it was really very well done. You know, they know how to do things.
Yeah.
I mean, they really do.
yeah. Well, and they totally loved Frank as
Yeah.
well, so I'm sure.
I've been in hotels in Midtown Manhattan with them. You know, they just phenomenal people. And then Frank, it's heartbreaking. He was 57 years old. That's not very old nowadays. So I figure I got another 20 minutes.
Well, then let's wrap this up.
Yeah, you better wrap it up before I keel over on the table here.
And I run. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting us. And keep posted, keep watching, and we will be back again probably in about a week with another Footy podcast.
Maybe.
Thank you for listening to the Footy Podcast. To benefit, here's help. For more information about the Footy Podcast or Here's Help, contact us at 305-685-8201. If you need help or know someone who has a substance abuse or alcohol problem, you can call our admissions office at 305-685-8201, extension 224. If you'd like to make a cash donation to Here's Help and join the fight against drug abuse, call Footy at 305-685-8201, extension 227. The executive producer of the Footy Podcast is Sam Zacco, COO of Here's Help.